Well, it's about time that I review a Nintendo 64 game. Truthfully, what held me off is that I prefer not to emulate it and would rather play the game on the actual console, but then again, I don't currently have anything that I can record from other than an emulator. So therefore, yeah, that's what I'm using, but I do own the actual game, so there's that. And what game could that be? Well, it's Perfect Dark. Most people when talking about shooters on the N64 mention GoldenEye as their favorite and best game on the system. I disagree. Yes, GoldenEye is a fantastic shooter and is still really, really fun to play. But I want to talk about the game created afterwards by Rare, the one who uses the same mechanics and dials up the fun level up to 11. On a dial that went up to 10. Yeah, we broke the dial. Anyway, in Perfect Dark, you play as an agent known as Joanna Dark, or Perfect Dark, due to the results of many of the tests that she undergoes to become an agent. Through multiple in-game cutscenes, you'll learn that she is employed by the Carrington Institute, led by the snappy dresser named Daniel Carrington, and her mission originally starts off as a quick grab and run to rescue a computer known as Dr. Carroll. The poopy hits the proverbial fan, and lo and behold, there's an alien war going on between the Mayans and the Skedar. Skedar? I think it's Skedar. The Mayans are your typical Roswell-looking aliens, and the Skedar are lizard-like beasts who are much less sociable. It's up to Joanna to figure out who's on the good side, who's on the bad side, and take down the bad guys. And there's a healthy amount of objectives that you'll be completing to get to that point. The opening seems easy enough, in which you're just going down a bunch of stairs and eventually an elevator, to find a hidden underground facility in which Dr. Carroll is being held. Soon after, you'll be trying to escape that lair. But then plot points start poking their head, and you'll be meeting and saving the president, say hello to the friendly Mayan alien Elvis, sneaking onto the massive submarine, and eventually taking down the Skedar ruler. The gameplay itself isn't much different from GoldenEye, if you've ever played that. You run around semi-open levels, shooting down thugs and completing objectives. Depending on the difficulty you choose, you can have anywhere from 3 to 5 things you need to do in each mission, and if you fail any of them, the mission needs to be restarted. Once all objectives are completed, the mission usually ends immediately, but there are rare times where you need to find a stage exit to finish off the level. Being that this is a shooter, obviously there are a ton of enemies that are going to be shooting at you, and one of the biggest things with Perfect Dark is the amount of weaponry and gadgets you get access to. You start off with a fairly simple Falcon pistol, and soon after get a CMP-150 submachine gun. But those are fairly normal looking weapons. What about the Dragon, an assault rifle that can be thrown as a proximity mine? The alien weapons that contain some high-powered explosive ammo, or the Farsight that has an X-ray mode that tracks your enemies. The Cyclone, which can be configured to dump out all 50 rounds with one pull of the trigger. Or even my favorite, the Laptop Gun, which is a rifle that masks itself as a laptop and folds out into a gun. Each mission you get thrown into typically gives you a different assortment of guns, which is really neat since you get to try out everything. But that's not all. The majority of the weapons also have a secondary function to make you even more of a killing machine. Many pistols get a pistol whip option to strike at close range. The CMP can tag multiple enemies to automatically target. The laptop gun can be thrown to act like a turret, which is awesome when playing the arena challenges. The Mauler pistol loads up multiple rounds to overcharge it, doing heavy damage. The Slayer rocket launcher contains a guidance system to remotely control the fired rocket. Each weapon is worth checking out at least once just to play around with the different options to see what may suit your needs better. One of the things that I did want to mention about the weapons is something that I believe is the first time I've seen it in a shooter. Reload animations. I was blown away by this. In most games at the time, reloading either wasn't necessary or was done by simply dropping the gun down below the screen and then popping it back up with full ammo in the mag. Not here. Each weapon has different animations and speeds of reloading. The pistols are going to change clips much quicker than, say, something like the Heavy Reaper machine gun. This kind of attention to detail is just so cool for the time frame. If you want to get more familiar with the weapons, there's also a firing range available to you. In here you get to play with any of the weapons, as long as you encounter them at least once, and compete in 3 different challenges per weapon. Other than just being something to do for people that desire 100% completion, you also unlock classic GoldenEye weapons when you complete enough of these challenges. Pretty sweet. You may get bored trying out these weapons in the main campaign missions, or even in the firing range, but you can also spend quite a bit of time, if not more of it, in the arena challenges. There are over 30 of these, and each one goes up increasing difficulty. The thing is, they aren't only just deathmatch. There are King of the Hill, Hold the Case, stuff like that. Most of the time, you're only on your own team unless you have other friends that care to join you. But that's not all. Something that I used to do a lot back in the day, especially with my brothers, was just create our own scenarios. The game actually tracks some of your stats, and there are almost limitless options at your disposal. Different selections of weapons, point limits, time frames, team sizes, bot types. The choices are all yours, and you can make these battles as easy or as difficult as you wish. My brother used to put himself with 2 insanely shielded but slow turtle bots against I think maybe 4 or 5 insane difficulty bots. The Farsight helps in those battles. Now let's say you have some friends over and you don't really want to do the arena stuff. Well, there's also co-op and counter-op modes. Co-op is just as you think. You play on the same team with a friend and try to accomplish the mission objectives together. In counter-op, you get to go up against your friend, as one side has to play the part of the bad guy. They die very easily though, but simply respawn when defeated. If you don't like the current thug you get placed with, you can also down a pill to switch to someone else. Now, you might think that this game looks perfect, but there are a few minor flaws. The game does look a bit dated, as to be expected as most N64 games are showing their age, but it's more so with the scenes that I'm talking about. There is voice acting, which is, again, pretty impressive for a game of this time frame, and although most of it is pretty good, there are some lines that are delivered on the stiff side. The characters' faces don't move, which is kind of weird, and all of them stand with their hands and fists, so that leads to some odd line delivery as well. There are also a bit of frame rate issues. With so much content and detail, I suppose it's to be expected, but it can be difficult at times to properly shoot enemies when the screen is down to single-digit frames per second. And that's Perfect Dark. Is it a perfect game? Almost. But it's really just technical limitations that cause any sort of problems. The gameplay itself is excellent though. There's plenty of missions, a huge variety of weapons, ton of challenges, and ways to enjoy the game with friends. In fact, many years ago, there was also a group of modders that were trying to create a Perfect Dark source, using the source engine from Half-Life 2. It didn't get too far, sadly, but the few times I played it, I had so much fun. I checked up on it recently, but it looks like it's a dead project at this time. It's a shame, really. But as for the N64 original, it's still one of my favorite FPS games. So if you ever want to tell me about how GoldenEye is the best shooter on the system, be prepared for my retort on how it's really Perfect Dark. With so much content, you'll always be able to find some fun with it. Final score? 7 out of 7. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.